John Edwards for Griffins TV alongside head football coach Chris Starkey. And Coach, welcome back to Vianney. It's been a long, strange trip for you, I'm sure, over the last 6 months or so. Talk a little bit about coming back to Vianney and what it's meant to you.
Yeah, it's been a world of emotions. Strange, humbling, exciting, tiring, stressful. I think all those things kind of fall into that category. It was a really long process for me between the interview processes, the moving back to the area process, getting to know my kids, setting up summer stuff, figuring out what my day job was going to look like here. All of those things that have really taken up the bulk of my time in the last 6 months. And so I dove in head first. We knew what we were signing up for when we accepted the job. My staff and I have really hit the ground running. We meet weekly. You know, we check all the boxes. We're making sure that we're giving these kids the best opportunity to succeed. It's been something that I've dreamed about for a really long time. And the longer it continues to go, I think I'm still a little bit on cloud nine, but the longer this continues to work, I think I'll get down to earth a little bit and hopefully continue the process.
When you decided to come back home, you spent your high school years here. Was that like an emotional decision as well?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it was an emotional decision. This place invested a lot in me. I was not the greatest student. I was, kind of a punk when I was younger. I was entitled, a lot, hung out with bad crowds, got in trouble. And when I came here, all that changed. Steered me straight. I started to see the value in faith and education and friendship and just all the things that Vianney is about. Character and accomplishment have been something that I've preached even beyond my years here. I talk about that in the coaching world. I talk about that in the classroom. And even when I was back in Arizona the last 6 years, my peers and my kids would hear me talk about that. So coming back was definitely something I was emotionally invested in. I want to do for kids what Vianney did for me. I want to make a difference in their lives. I want to help save some people. I want to be somebody who they know they can have trust in, and who's going to be there for them for the rest of their lives.
Let's get into the fact that you, from your time coming back, hiring a staff itself, you have some key guys that you've known for many, many years in this St. Louis area. You probably have one of the largest coaching staffs in the St. Louis area. And talk about your relationships with them and how it's matriculated for you to now where they're coming back to help you out, some of them on a volunteer level.
Yeah, so on a Friday night, we'll have 18 to 20 people who are taking part in the game day process between booth guys, camera crew members, coaches, stat keepers, just different roles that are going to happen on Friday nights. Every one of those people is somebody who I've coached with in the past, has coached me in the past. I've either played with them or I've coached them. And so every one of those people have a previous relationship with me. And that was something that I really looked in when looking for my staff. There's some really good football minds out there, some really good coaches. But first and foremost, it was people I could trust, people I already knew who had faith in me, and were going to be able to stand behind me and say, Coach Starkey, you'll get this done. Coach Gladstone, who was my head football coach here, is helping out. I brought a defensive coordinator from Arizona with me, a young guy by the name of Coach Santos. Coach Robert Clark is a guy that I coached at my years at Northwest High School in Cedar Hill. Just knowing that I have that family-type atmosphere, not just amongst my coaches, but amongst my players as well, has really helped with the buy-in, I think.
You talk about how you have these relationships with your coaching staff and everything like that, especially Coach Gladstone, who you played for your junior-senior year. Did a little digging, 1,117 combined yards your senior year, almost 2,000 between your junior and senior season, and it was a high scoring offense back then. Is that something that you model your coaching style after now?
We do. That's absolutely right. In my 10 years as a high school football coach, going into my 11th now, 8 of them I've been an offensive coordinator. And every year, I have modeled the things that we did here at Vianney. We run a no-huddle, fast-paced offense. If you paid attention to what I was able to do in Arizona, we had the highest scoring offense in the entire state the last 2 years. And that's exactly, I mean, we spread the ball around. We're going to have 6, 7 athletes on the field at all times between our quarterbacks, our running backs, wide receivers. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. Obviously, this first year is going to be a process where we got to really figure out what we're good at and what we kind of need to stay away from right now. We did a really good job of that over the summer and in these first 3 weeks of practice, but these first couple weeks of game action is really going to tell us a lot. So once we get that figured out and we're able to hone in on that a little bit more, I think you'll start to see the offense come to light a little bit as far as just doing some different things. And those things are really exciting. We line up in some really cool formations. We run some really unique things as far as just being able to spread out the field and take advantage of where we have numbers and things like that. And it's been successful for me. And you know, it's no secret the guys that I have here at Vianney are top level athletes. And not that I haven't coached really, really good football players the last 6 or 7 years, but these kids are top notch, and being able to put the ball in their hands and do some of those things is going to be really fun.
Talk about the progress of the team from the first time you got a chance to work with them all the way up through now, game week, game one.
Yeah, I just kind of talked about that. It was really, I think the biggest improvement that I've seen is in our strength and conditioning. We had 75 to 80 kids in the weight room every day this summer, Monday through Friday. And it took a little bit for kids to understand why we were doing that. But once they saw the improvement, and it wasn't just improvement in strength and conditioning. Once they saw the improvement in strength and conditioning, their self-esteem got better, their confidence got better. They started to realize that they could do some of the things we were asking them to do on the field, and they could do it a lot better than they've done it in the past. And so once that started to click, kids really bought into that and saw the value in being in the weight room every day. And then it's also a huge point to say, like, the weight room is so much more than just getting stronger and faster. It builds camaraderie, it builds trust and unity within the team. There's something to be said about being there every morning at 7 o'clock and being able to look across the kid from you on the next rack and know that on a Friday night he's going to be standing next to you and you guys are both going to be able to get the job done. So that's a really unique thing. Our coaching staff, like I said, has worked really hard this summer to figure out what we're good at, what we're not good at, what we really need to focus on. I think you'll see that Friday night that we've kind of done that. We obviously need to evolve on that, but we started really, really simple with trying to figure out, do we have the receivers to line up in a 4-receiver set? Do we have more running back type kids? Do we need to have more running backs in the backfield? And so we really started to look at personnel, how we want to line up, where do we want to utilize these kids. That took us a couple weeks to figure out. Once we figured that out, we really start to hone in on terminology and the whys behind why we do certain things. That's important to me. I don't just tell kids we're going to run this play. I tell them we're going to run this play and here's why, so that they can understand that when they're on the field. And so it's been cool to see them take that and run with it. Huddle is a great tool, so being able to film our practices with some of the technology that we have and get those sent out on a nightly basis, have those kids get on there and watch that stuff and then bring us feedback the following day has been really helpful. And our kids are really bought into the scheme. They know it's exciting. They've seen some of the stuff that I was able to do in past years in Arizona, and they know that they have that capability. So it started off slow, but kind of on purpose. We continued to progress. Leaders started to pop out. We started to figure out who was going to fit into certain positions, and everything else from there has really started to fall together.
Week one, you get Parkway West, a home opener for the team, and coming off a jamboree where you took a lot of positives, I felt, seeing both your 1 unit and 2 unit working for the first time really full speed. You're going up against Parkway West, a team that we haven't seen here in a few years. And what do we know about Parkway West, and what should we expect from them?
First of all, scrimmages are always tough because they're one of those things you just hold your breath waiting for it to be done. But there's always positives that come out of that. Great film. We were able to come in Saturday morning and have a session and learn from that. So that's really valuable. The biggest takeaway for me from that was our energy and effort. There were some bad things that happened, our energy stayed constant. There were some bad things that happened, our effort stayed constant. And those are things that we've really prided ourselves on since I've been here. So it's good to see that come to transition on the field. Parkway West is going to be really big, really fast, strong, athletic. They lost a lot of kids last year who were seniors. Most of those kids were skill position type kids like running backs, receivers, quarterbacks. But they reloaded. They've got a couple kids who are really fast, really big. A couple wide receivers who stand over 6'3", in the 200, 205 pound range area. And so we've got a good game plan to kind of utilize some of our mismatches in those areas. As we do that, we'll have to make some adjustments and figure out what's working and what's not. I expect a really good game, though. Our kids have been excited all week. They're preparing. I give them, assignments each night. You need to make sure you're watching this much film. Bring me back some feedback, and every day those guys do that. And so you're able to see the buy-in there, the preparation. It's been a really tough few years for these guys, especially upperclassmen. And so they're hungry to get out there and compete.
Well, I know that changing the culture is always important, but I've seen a change in that culture through the first few weeks, especially with some of the kids who've gone through some of those harder times, and seeing their leadership on Friday during that jamboree, and I look forward to seeing his team all season long. Chris Starkey, the head coach of the Vianney football team, we look forward to seeing his team Friday night against Parkway West.